welcome to the stage Team Fyltr.
Great. Well, hello and good afternoon. There's a lot more people this time. My name is Jasmine, and I'm really excited to talk to you about Fyltr, an app that brings media literacy directly to kids. So I'm joined today by my team over here, Deepti, Sophia, Juan, Jonathan. And as you can tell, we come from all across the University of Michigan, from the School of Education to the School of Public Health to information, and for myself from the law school. And we actually met through Innovation Action because we all wanted to work on a problem that was more than just any of our individual disciplines. And for us, that problem is fake news. And fake news is deliberate misinformation. It's a danger to public health, a danger to democracy, a danger to science and education. If you think of any major recent current event, fake news has been used to sow public discord and also to kind of muddle the idea of truth. And so for us, it was intuitive that education has to be part of the solution if we want to tackle this huge and complex problem. And so we spoke to experts in education in Ann Arbor and across the US, librarians to college educators to nonprofit leaders and so on. And from that, we learned that 4th and 5th grade is when kids begin transitioning into the world of cell phones and of smartphones and social media, really independently using the internet. And by the time kids reach middle school, approximately 80% of students are unable to figure out that sponsored ads are different from news stories. So we realized the problem is clear. We need to equip kids transitioning into digital citizenship with the media literacy skills necessary to navigate the mass information that they now have at their fingertips. And we're certainly not the first to realize this problem. There's been a lot of great work that's been done in this space. However, we developed Fyltr as a bridge between the gap between the available media literacy resources out there and the limited classroom resources. So Fyltr really, by using an app, enables students to independently learn the crucial media literacy skills that they need to navigate this world of mass information. And so, of course, we have to address the question of how can we motivate students to learn on their own? And the solution to that is really creating a product that's for young digital citizens, which is our fancy term for upper elementary school kids. So Fyltr is, at its core, a game. We really want a game that attracts students and is customized to their skill level, that they can play at their own pace, that's at their fingertips, whether it's on desktop, mobile, or tablet, and helps them decode the world that they're engaging with every day. So unlike other organizations in this space, Fyltr is truly a 21st century solution to a 21st century problem. Many other organizations develop great curriculum, but it's all still in a paper-based medium. Other organizations are really meant for adults or the general public to fact check and are not targeted at kids and students. So we envision a world where children are equipped to independently evaluate media for credibility and contribute to a world where truth still matters. Because ultimately, when you are on the internet, you need to be your own filter. Now, Sophia will help us take a deep dive into the product itself.
So as you can see, the Fyltr game is designed to have 3 different modes: play, learn, and challenge. And in the play mode, the students will go through a tutorial of the most critical aspect of evaluating different kinds of online media, guided by the framework developed by Center for Media Literacy. And in the play mode, we adapted exercise from Stanford Media Literacy and Stanford Media Literacy Group and Center for Media Literacy. And students can improve to unlock new and more challenging games in the subject that they are interested in. And in the challenge mode, students can compete against one another. Higher level of players can evaluate the online media that they found outside of the game. And our long-term plan is to have a public database where we publish the real-time content that is verified and filtered by kids. So here is a demo of how the game works. When you started to play the game, the screen is divided into two parts. The media that the student is interacting with and the discussion question that helps students to think critically about the content. So this is an example of the sponsored ad that many students might incorrectly think is a credible article. So instead of directly asking students whether it is an ad or not, our discussion question is designed to encourage students to think critically who created this message and what can be the purpose of delivering this message. So every time a student answers a question correctly, they will be rewarded with a food that they can use to feed and grow their whales. The reason why we choose to use whales as the metaphor is because we want to emphasize the idea that kids can be whales and being able to filter what they consume.
So although we developed Fyltr for individual use, we also recognize through talking with local teachers that teachers want to have this in the classroom whenever possible. So we want Fyltr to be compatible with the classroom experience, and we envision, once we're in more classrooms, for premium features to include lesson plans that teachers can use. So moving on to the opportunity and how we're going to make this happen. So first and foremost, there's over 110,000 elementary and secondary schools in the US, serving 31 million students, and over 84% of households currently use smartphones. And the cost of not addressing fake news is currently being borne by social media companies such as Facebook, which is estimated could have to increase their overhead costs by maybe 40 to 60% to address the issues on their platform. As for our short-term and long-term plans, we really hope to first begin by partnering with many of the organizations we've mentioned before, developing this into the product that Sophia just discussed, piloting it within local elementary and secondary schools, and then reaching as many schools as possible across the country. Ultimately, after we develop a great partnership with these schools, we understand what are the key features that we could use in our freemium model to generate revenue eventually. So finally, we want to end on a quote by Thomas Jefferson. A well-informed electorate is a prerequisite for democracy. This quote has echoed well in previous pitches because it reflects the message we want to send. But more importantly, this quote has not been found in any of the writings of Thomas Jefferson. And we learned this only last night while preparing for this pitch and deciding, oh, maybe we should check the credibility of our sources. So if 5 graduate students are taking information on the internet for granted, it's all the more crucial that we're equipping our kids with the same tools. So I hope to have your support, and thank you so much for your time and attention.
So I think it's so clever that you have created a product that gamifies it for children to make it appealing for them to use this. And so on top of that, in regards to the teachers, have you done market research or have data that compiled to support why teachers should use this or how it specifically benefits them in the classroom and maybe specifics with ratios, percentages, how it helps in learning?
So we did look at the 5 competencies that were shown. Maybe you want to pull up that slide. Yes, right here. So the 5 competencies that the game will go through: authorship, format, audience, content, purpose, were matched with some of the Common Core standards in the state of Michigan. So being able to integrate knowledge and ideas, create structures, and key ideas and details, being able to recognize those.
There's also several states, I think, across the country that are proposing legislations or enforcing that schools are incorporating this into their curriculum, and we're hoping Fyltr can be part of the process in making that transition a tool that schools can use.
And we also talked to like many middle school teachers, and we realized that they don't really have extra time to do like extra work for the thing that they are required. So that's why we decided to develop the app, which students can use individually at home without the teacher's help.
Can you talk about your pricing model, and if you sell to like schools individually, do you plan on selling to districts? Do you plan on selling to teachers or principals?
Yes, so like what we're thinking of now is like a freemium, in a short-term basis, is a freemium model. So we want to offer like the basic features to all the users, and then like kind of offer like some kind of premium features, such as like if they want to use like have these group features where the teachers can get reports and teachers can evaluate how the students are performing, then maybe like we want to have a subscription for that. And on a long-term basis, like we want to move beyond the subscriptions, and we want to have these corporate partnerships. So we kind of talked about the base of users we want to develop who have these advanced media literacy skills. And these users, like we kind of envision them analyzing articles in real time and grading the articles, and we kind of sell this data to all these social media sites and all these online news sites. So kind of partnering with them to kind of provide this real-time media evaluation tools, basically. So that's like a long-term plan.
A little feedback. So you guys should do research on like freemium models and like the success and the adaptability in schools.
Yeah.
It's not doing so well. A lot of schools are signing up for tons of pilots, but never converting into customers. So you just have a large user base. People aren't paying for it. So look into that. I think the corporate partnerships, you talked about how this can be like, it can increase overhead for Facebook by like 40% with these fake ads. So that could be an avenue, as well as when we were deliberating, there were some parents in the room that really, got excited about this and that they would want this for their kids. So maybe even thinking of that as another customer segment, to doing some research to see if maybe directly selling to parents for this kind of tool.
Yeah, in our research, Anne, who was telling that, kind of, she envisioned this as a product, like she would want her children to, they become the big whales before they get smartphones. We can also kind of envision in a way like parents can have these standards for their children, like they should achieve before they kind of actually start using smartphones and enroll in social media websites. So.
But I also think it's, you want to go?
Sorry, go ahead, David.
I also think it's interesting because a lot of your issues with fake news are for adults, right? So in what way can you use the technology to also inform adults, or even make the game parent and children related, where the parents are competing even against the children to figure out if they know what fake news is, and sort of the thinking process of how do you have patience and not, you also have to think about bias and how this interacts with the idea. Another question I have is, so where are you in the process? Is this built? Is this a minimum viable product? Is it just sort of an idea right now? Where are you guys in the process?
It is currently an idea right now. Okay. So to be quite honest, we spent a lot of time trying to figure out how what we could do to battle fake news. And we went through the whole gamut from adults to kids, and really figuring out where our target was. So right now, I think we have a good idea in terms of who we want to target, but it's really pretty early on. So we have to build a platform, then pilot it at a school, and then kind of think through these issues.
So my question has to do with the juxtaposition of the beginning. We talked about this a little earlier, where you really clarify the problem as this social impact problem, right? The denigration of democracy and how everything falls apart if we don't have truth, which I feel very strong about. However, you're a for-profit company. So we talked about this earlier, and I still, even though you're saying the cost of this is now being borne by Facebook, I don't understand the actual cost. Your business model needs to offset some problem cost in my mind, and I don't know if that's quantified. It could be that the teachers are doing it for goodwill or because they need to check the box on core curriculum. I don't see the connection between how you define the problem and what the value prop of the product is. I think,
I'm sorry.
yeah, no, go ahead.
Yeah, just a dialogue bit. There's
Yeah.
another company that I think is starting recently called NewsGuard. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's basically accruing journalists to provide ratings for websites. And they just made like $6 million, I think, in Series A or Series B funding. Yeah, I think there's a demand out there for these rating systems. And I think one of our long-term vision is sort of being able to use students to really give them this the skill set and almost use it as like a crowdsourcing base, as Deepti was mentioning. And obviously, it's a very different set of data than what journalists are saying.
Okay.
But I think it has its own value, and perhaps whether it's from corporate sponsorships or the data itself being valuable to companies wanting to have that rating, we definitely see there being a market.
And I think the other one might be also is there's legislation coming down in states to require schools to show proof of doing something to do media literacy. So there's a few states right now, Washington being one of them, they've implemented legislation. There's others in the pipework. So
Well,
I think
great.
that will also be a way for schools to support that.
Yeah, mandates are great like that for products.
The thing is, like, there are all these mandates, and there are like these teachers who are like really strapped for time, and like that's where we see ourselves coming in. Like we just like provide them with app, this like preset, like everything is preset. They literally just have to ask the students to like play the game. That's it, and like and they get the reports, and like kind of fulfills the requirements.
And we see Anne inching over.
Great, thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you.